Good afternoon, my beautiful babes and babes. Bam. I'm your resident active advocate, and I got a new sweater, which is also kind of an old sweater because I got it for Christmas. But you know the security tag thing that they put on clothes? They actually didn't remove it in the store, and we had to go and get it removed yesterday. Now that retail is a little more opened up. So that was entertaining. Go in there and the thing starts beeping off. And my mom just says, "That's why I'm here, to get the tag removed, right?" But, okay, so personal jargon aside, I would like to talk to you today about the morality of not CRISPR specifically, but of genetic modification as a general concept. In bioethics, currently, this is very unsteady ground. I want to make that very clear right from the get-go, because this technology currently is in its infancy. And really, it could be like a toddler playing with dynamite. You don't know what's going to happen. They might light that fuse and something awful happens. But at the same time, there is a great deal of potential in this technology. This is more or less wild speculation on my part because I don't know exactly what could be done with this technology. And I don't think very many people do, other than geneticists, genealogists, those sorts of people, and, biologists. But I mean, with this technology, in theory, we could eliminate the genes that come together to cause various forms of cancer. We could eliminate various genes that come together to create genetically, any genetically passed down illness, you know, and that would be extraordinarily beneficial to our entire species. My father, actually, a number of years ago, he got cancer and he survived. But it was in his genetic code that he would get cancer. Many of the males in his family have. And it just came down to him, regardless of the lifestyle he lived. And he was, well, still is, a very healthy guy, right? So sometimes, regardless of your actions, your genes will catch up with you. And there is literally nothing you can do about that. Once you are, I think it may even be once you are conceived, your genetic code is written. There's nothing that can be done in utero as of now to, quote, correct or fix certain genetic anomalies. The question when it comes to ethics, however, with this technology is not the question of how or even of when, because this is, as I say, a technology in its infancy, but it will keep on developing because it is the nature of science to keep on developing, and that is a good thing. People no longer die of smallpox or so much of polio or of tuberculosis, those sorts of things, because medical science has advanced to the point where we don't have to die from those things anymore. We have inoculations. In the case of smallpox, we have completely eradicated the virus that causes it. The question, morally speaking, with this technology, though, is how far should we take it? Not only how far do we have the right to take it, because there is the question always of beneficence and of personal autonomy, but there's also the question of in what direction do we want to take it. Personally, having seen a great deal, and not just with my father, but of the damage that cancer can do and of the havoc it causes in a family, and just when one person in a family suffers, everyone in that family suffers, at least in the immediate family, to my experience. But we're very close as a family, just for a little bit of background. But I would definitely 100% be in favor of eradicating cancer. Yes, I just used those words. I know it sounds like a pipe dream. It really does, because we're not yet familiar with this technology, we are not well versed in what it could potentially do for us, but we are also not very well versed in what it could do to us. I am in favor of wiping out genetic illnesses such as cancer, diabetes, things like that, which would definitely have a very negative impact on your life if you were to have those genes activated in any sort of way. But at the same time, is it proper? Is it humane to wipe out the genes and the gene combinations? Because trust me, it's never just one gene, it's always gene combinations that cause, say, congenital defects. Like I've said to you before, I have hydrocephalus, which is a neural tube defect. I have bilateral colobomas. That is the name of my visual condition, or visual impairment, right? The condition that causes my visual impairment. There we go. Thank you. And I also have a congenital heart defect. The word congenital, by the way, for anyone who needs a refresher, is a disability that you acquire either at birth or before the age of 4. Okay. So if you are disabled by, say, an accident or an illness after that age, it is not considered congenital. But there are a lot of congenital disorders that could be wiped out with genetic modification technology. The question is, how far should we go and in what direction should we go with that technology? Getting rid of disease, amazing, especially of a thing like cancer. I don't know a single person who hasn't to some degree experienced cancer, be it them having experienced it themselves or having seen a loved one go through it, or even just a friend or an acquaintance, or, no one is more, I would say, than 10 people away from cancer, right? Especially in the West. Probably because we have the technology to diagnose it better than other countries in the world. It's not that it doesn't exist in other countries in the world, it's just that some places may have technology that is not capable entirely of picking up on it. But if it were possible to eradicate some of the genetic factors that can lead to cancer, and then a person lives a healthier lifestyle and they don't get cancer, that would be spectacular. But at the same time, with genetically modifying against disabilities specifically, I think you get into a bit of what's called the slippery slope fallacy. The whole idea of if we can go this far, then our reason says we must go this far, and just keep going and going and going with this technology at our disposal and making it better and refining it. The problem with that, and I know that this is a fallacious argument, I do, at least at this point, because I will reiterate, this technology is still in its infancy. The problem, though, is that one could theoretically annihilate entire disabilities with this technology. For example, my visual impairment. When it comes to just me personally, and this is getting very much into subjective territory, I can only speak for myself, okay? Really and truly, I can. I think people should be given the option if the technology allows for an option. But when it comes to me, my disabilities, plural, but mostly the visual impairment, are very much part of who and what I am. My best friend would likely not be my best friend if not for this visual impairment, because we were put together in many different situations in school, and we had lessons with a lot of the same teachers together to learn various skills, myself learning Braille at the time, most of which I've forgotten because the school system's very inconsistent. But it is an integral part of my identity. As I've said before, don't go into master status territory with this. It's only a part of my identity. But to me, it's a very important part, because without it, I wouldn't be who I am. I would not have some of the most important people in my life, right? Or at least not necessarily. Or there may not be as strong a bond there as there is. And my best friend is basically my sister. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's how close we are. But if I had been genetically modified in utero to not have the visual impairment, to not have experienced this, then how would that have changed me? I can't answer that. No one can answer that, because no one can judge the future by the past. I think that with a technology like this, we need to be careful of what we do with it, how we use it, and the intentions behind what we are doing. If we seek to eradicate illnesses, that, as I say, is a wonderful thing. But no one is viewed as, quote, lesser than if they have cancer, okay? People with visual impairments, however, are viewed as, quote, lesser than because of this social hierarchy that we have established in our society. And the problem with combining technology like this with a social hierarchy is to say, okay, well, we can just modify the people who would be considered, quote, lower on the hierarchy than, quote, us, copious quotation marks, but at the same time, my argument against that entirely would be if you eliminate certain identities such as disability, the deaf capital D community, they have a language of their own because of their shared disabilities. Like ASL, American Sign Language, or any form of sign, uses the same parts of your brain as any spoken language does. So it is literally its own language, and to eliminate deafness, to eliminate blindness, I have no idea how far this technology could go or how far it will go. But eliminating disabilities, I think, is an exercise in eliminating people groups, but it is also an exercise in futility, because the problem is we're still hanging on to the pyramidal mindset. We will put different people at the bottom of the social pyramid. What I really don't want to see happen, and this will not happen in my lifetime, okay? I know it won't. But in the future, what I would not want to see happen would be for the people who are modified by CRISPR or by similar technologies to form their own hierarchy, and to say that the people who have opted out, or the people who did not have access to the technology, or whose parents did not have access to the technology on the child's behalf, those are the inferior species now. That kind of deal. I don't want to stand in the way of progress. I truly don't, because science is a beautiful invention of humanity. And the bigger it gets, the happier I get, because it expands our minds, it expands our potential as human beings. Science is a good thing. I've said this on multiple occasions, and I will not stop saying it. Thank you very much. But it's the intention behind the science we use that informs whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. Science is of itself a good thing, but if we use it to bad means, there's a saying actually in Buddhism. I believe it runs, if the wrong person uses the right means, then the result of the right means will be wrong. It's something to that effect. I don't have that quoted exactly, but basically the whole idea is our intention behind why we are developing and using this technology. If it's to eliminate illness, wonderful. If it's to eliminate the social, quote, other, no, stop it. Don't go there. Please don't tread that ground any more than it's already been trodden. This is a well-trodden path. This is the origin of eugenics, quite frankly. To say that this or that people group, this or that person is inferior to us or to me. You know, you can't go ahead with that sort of mindset in a humanist way. You just can't. I believe that that mindset is 100% misanthropic, and unfortunately, it is the mindset upon which many of our societies are not only founded but based. There's always this idea of the social hierarchy. You know, I've gone through this many times in my videos. Us, like us, not us, and them. That is what needs to be eliminated before we can go ahead with this technology in a safe, effective, and humane manner. We need to change how we think. We need to change our mindsets before we start fiddling with the genetic codes of other human beings. It's extraordinarily dangerous territory if we approach it the wrong way. And that, I think, is a place in which science and philosophy could meet in the middle with what is called the field of metaphysics. But this is a different kind of metaphysics, too. Philosophy as applied to science, right? And I don't know how far we've ever chased that sort of idea. But the further we chase that idea, the happier I get. Because I adore both of those fields, and to see a nice little mashup between them, that would be great. And especially as applied to technology like this, and to how we treat other people in accordance with the existence of technology like this. You know, once we do get to the point of being able to modify a human being to be, quote, superhuman, you know, do we start then treating them like gods? Do we start creating yet another class or caste system based on who has what done to them? You know, that's the slippery slope fallacy coming back in. And it's ridiculous to be thinking this far down the road at this point. But it's also not, because this is the mindset, as I say, on which many of our societies are based. And we need to get over it. We need to grow up mentally and intellectually as a species before we start fiddling with our own DNA. And you're getting the Italian hands. You know, the angry Nona, because I am serious about this. You know, not just sincere. I am absolutely serious about this. This is a dreadfully serious topic, and if we ignore the moral and social implications of what we are doing, we are doomed to failure as a species. And that's always been true. It's just that it's a little more finicky when it comes to messing with human DNA. So that's my very long-winded video for the day. No idea how long this thing is. We'll find out together. All right. I will see all y'all tomorrow for another video on bioethics. And I have no idea what I'll talk about yet, but we'll, as I say, find out together. All right. Thank you for your lovely attention and participation, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Mwah!